skip it up and that up. So Nvidia just held their 2015 Game Developers Conference, and one of the more interesting announcements they had was a new Nvidia Shield. And I'm not talking about a portable device or a tablet. This one is an Android-based console. Now I know what you're thinking. Here we go again. And even myself, I'm not very thrilled with Android-based consoles. There's way too many of them, and they just don't do anything that excite me at all. But this one from Nvidia gives me a little bit of a boner in my boner area, and I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I'm going to go over the features with you, then I'll tell you why I'm actually interested in the new Nvidia Shield. Granted, I think the name is kind of terrible because it's like the new Nintendo 3DS, and hopefully they change that, but that's besides the point. Yes, I just rambled. So what are the features of this new little box from Nvidia going to be? Well, it's going to run on Android's TV operating system. Whoop-de-doo, there's nothing special there. But here's where things start to get interesting. It's going to be based on Nvidia's new Tegra X1 chip. This is a 256-core Maxwell graphics processor and an 8-core 64-bit CPU. This is a mobile processor, and this chip is no joke for a mobile processor. It has 1 teraflop of computing performance. Now, yes, compared to a PlayStation 4, it's 50% of what that can do. A PS4 has 2 teraflops of computing performance, but still, mobile chip with that much computing power. Now, here's something that this Tegra X1 chip can do that none of the 8th gen consoles can boast at all. They're not capable of doing it. It can output 4K at 60 frames per second. Now, again, with that 256-core Maxwell GPU, it's not going to do native gaming on the box itself at 4K at 60 frames per second. But in the future, when their grid streaming service and ISPs around the country allow for it, they'll be able to stream games at 4K and 60 frames per second. The Xbox One and PS4 can't do that. Moving on, they're going to get exclusive content not available to other Android boxes, and that's going to be due to their whole grid streaming service. And what's grid? Basically, Nvidia has these servers stacked with a bunch of GTX 980s in them that play PC games maxed out. And of course, Nvidia's grid service is going to be exclusive to Nvidia. So you're going to be able to stream games to this new Nvidia Shield and play maxed out PC games streamed, and no other service can boast that. You can't go out and buy like an Ouya, for example. I can't think of, there's so many damn Android consoles out there, I can't think of anything else right now. But yeah, that's something exclusive they're going to have due to their grid service that's nowhere else right now. So that's something big for them. Also too, because how powerful the Tegra X1 is, they're working with publishers and game developers to actually make games for this new console, because it is a very capable chip. Again, it's not up to spec with the PS4, but it could do some pretty damn good gaming. Now, GameSpot said they tested out the new Nvidia Shield, and their internet connection was through Comcast. It was a normal consumer internet connection, and they said they had great results. They were playing Dying Light. They said the only game they had issues with where there was latency, and they noticed it with the grid streaming, was when they played Super Street Fighter 4. Another big feature I almost forgot to mention, which would have been terrible, is they now upgraded Grid, the Nvidia streaming service, to 1080p 60 frames per second. Before it can only do 720p 30 frames per second, and now they can do 1080p 60 frames per second, which is what everyone's coveting, and that's great because obviously these 980 server farms are able to output games at max settings at 1080p 60 frames per second, and now people with this new Nvidia Shield and other Shield products that Nvidia sells can enjoy, that smooth 60 frames per second gameplay. They're also going to have a subscription model which will give you 200 games, and they're going to price it the same price as like PlayStation Plus, or it's going to be competitive with PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live. And they're also, yes, new games like AAA games are going to cost just as much as they do on other platforms, but they are working with Steam. So when you go out and buy one of these new Nvidia Shields, that maybe it'll include a game or two from Steam. And last but not least, it's going to cost $200. So it's a really interesting package, and it's really appealing. And all the stuff they're giving you for $200, this could be a serious competitor to the consoles if they do it right, and that's what I'm going to talk about now. So why am I cautiously optimistic about the new Nvidia Shield? That's what they're calling it right now. I feel here's what they can do to make the Nvidia Shield work. And I'm saying this from a consumer. I'm not like an analyst or anything like that. Nvidia, don't worry too much about the damn streaming yet, okay? The internet infrastructures around the world are not up to snuff to smoothly, with no latency or virtually no latency, run 1080p 60 frames per second gaming. It's just not there yet. What I want to see you do, and it seems like you're doing it somewhat, is work with game developers and publishers to make games to work with it just like a conventional console right now. You got the Nvidia Tegra X1 in there. Yes, it's not as powerful as what the Xbox One and PS4 can do, but it can hold its own. And have them make AAA games slightly discounted. When the next Call of Duty comes out, have it be $60 on the PS4 and Xbox One, and you have it be like $35 or $40 on the new Nvidia Shield. Yeah, okay, maybe it'll run at 720p as opposed to 1080p, or maybe even slightly sub HD. But have the game in its entirety be on the new Nvidia Shield, have it be at a discounted price, because you have your $200 discounted console, which is at least $150 cheaper than your two competitors. The Wii U is kind of in a different class, in my opinion. And then boom, you'll nail it out of the park. But if you do what everyone seems to be trying to do and shoving streaming down everyone's throats, when people's internet, just even my internet, I have Fios here, okay? It's 85 megabits per second up and down. All right, but what during the night evening, especially when everyone's home from school and work around my neighborhood, guess what? My internet speeds slow down. It's not stable yet. I couldn't rely even on Fios with 85 megabits per second up and down to have a solely cloud-based gaming experience. So you have this little box, this cool little gaming box that's $200, which is super affordable, with a fairly capable gaming chip in there, 64-bit 8-core processor and a 256-core Maxwell-based GPU in there. Work with that. And as time goes on and ISPs catch up and internet finally can handle, 1080p 60 frames per second streaming from grid, and you slowly embrace it. And when everyone has the internet that can handle it, then they can truly enjoy cloud gaming. So transition them over. You can do it with this little box. Don't force it down their throat, because then you'll turn people off to the new Nvidia Shield. All right, folks, this is Rich of Review Tech USA. Make sure to rate, comment, favorite, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for supporting my channel. Have a good one.